Howdy my peeps, and welcome. Today I'm going to be sharing the Copic illustration that I submitted to Copic's art contest. But before we get into that, I'd like to give a shout out to MK aka Morgan, who is the comment of the week. Thank you so much for your comment and all of your comments. Oh my goodness, I enjoyed chatting with you in the comment section. It was really nice. And I enjoy reading you all's comments, and if you would like to be the comment of the week, all you have to do is comment on any video. That could have been you. Oh my goodness. And I'm also on Patreon, and I just uploaded a studio vlog over there, so you can go check that out if you like. And I'm also on Etsy and have prints over there, so you can check those out if you like. But anyways, this illustration, oh my goodness. My original plan for like this video was to edit it in like a real-time kind of manner, where I just cut out the boring bits. But this video ended up being very long. There's like the process itself ended up being pretty long. I have a little less than 3 hours of footage. It's like 2 hours and 50 something minutes. And I actually didn't record the entire process. I didn't record the sketching process because the idea for this drawing is actually something I came up with a while ago, and the first sketch was actually done in, I think, my last sketchbook, which there should be a tour of that on my channel somewhere, so I'll put a link to that in the iCards to check that out if you like. But anyways, so I took that sketch and I put it on this cold press watercolor paper, and then I sketched the background because the first sketch didn't have a background. And I also changed his face a bit because my style has changed just the slightest bit. So, you know, I wanted to update it a bit. But other than that, it's pretty much the same as the old sketch. I did try to update the sketch, like draw a new sketch, but I preferred the old one, so I just stuck with that one, which was nice, you know. And like I said, I didn't record that bit, but just to tell you what I did, I basically used a light pad to trace the old sketch and sketched a new background, and that was it. Oh my goodness. And I used a ballpoint pen for the line art, which is something I've been enjoying using lately for watercolor stuff. Because my original plan for this drawing was to have the background and props and things to be watercolors, and then just the character to be colored with Copics. But then I ended up changing that plan because I went on the Copic's award website. I think that's what the site is called. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. But anyways, I misread the instructions. Which is something that I do often. I'll like read something and then I don't retain any of that information, so I ended up doing the wrong thing. I thought I had to do mostly Copics. After I read the instruction, I was like, oh, well, I have to change how I do this. Anyway, these are just my colors that I'm using. I don't think I use all these colors, but I did document all the colors I use, and those will be in the description. Oh my goodness, everything's in the description. But anyways, because I thought I had to use mostly Copics, I changed my plan, and I ended up coloring the entire illustration with Copics, though I did still use watercolor washes as the basis for the entire thing, which is something that I practiced a couple of times, which is not something that I typically do when I draw. Like I don't well, I don't know, I feel like every time I draw is practice, but I don't practice to go do another drawing, if that makes any sense. But I did for this one. That wasn't my original intention either. Just filled with lots of things that weren't intentional. But anyways, I was doing a different drawing. I was just like practicing my line art with a brush pen. And I was like, well, since I'm here, I might as well just, you know, practice for this contest. And I'm so glad that I did. That video is on my Patreon if you want to see that. But anyways, I'm so glad I did that, because I learned some things, and one of the things that I learned was that I didn't need really saturated washes for the background if I was just going to go over the entire area with Copics later, because that first practice drawing was like the background was like super saturated, which wasn't the vibe that I was going for my color palette. And the characters in that drawing didn't fit into the illustration. They were just kind of just sitting on top of it, and I was like, well, that's not what I want. So I ended up, after that, doing a different practice drawing, one with very similar colors to this final illustration here. And I tried different stuff with different things with the washes. I watered down my colors a lot so they wouldn't be too saturated. And I also used less saturated, more yellow leaning greens, which ended up being a good idea and what I needed for this illustration. So that was really nice. After I did all those washes and things, I just colored the illustration with Copics. As you do. Like I mentioned, I think I mentioned it. I hope I mentioned it. Anyways, I just covered the entire area with Copics, which was not the brightest idea since I was using cold pressed paper, because cold pressed watercolor paper, it has some texture to it, you know, it's slightly rough, you know, and you know, for watercolors that's really nice, you know, got a little texture in there, some interest. But the thing with using texture paper with markers is that the texture can actually like damage the tip, like the nibs. It can make them fray a bit, which is what happened. Some of my markers, they aren't as sharp. Is that the word? Like the point isn't as good as it was before I started. I don't know if that makes any sense. Language is failing me at the moment, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Also, another thing that, you know, happens when you use watercolor paper with markers is, you know, watercolor paper is super absorbent, you know, as it has to be when you put, you know, super wet paints on top of it, you know, water and stuff. It needs to be really absorbent. But the con for that, with that is, like when you're using markers, is that it just sucks those bad boys dry. And that's kind of also what happened, which, you know, I was already working with markers that were already, you know, almost on their last leg, because a lot of these I got years ago and I just never purchased refills for them. And a lot of them really were in need of refills, and definitely are in need of refills after this. So yeah, it just sucked my poor markers up, you know, and I need refills now. So, you know, that's a thing that happens. And I want to go and get some refills. However, there aren't any like stores where I live that actually sell the refills, so I have to order them online. Which is fine. That's normally what I normally do. But the issue is that USPS has been messing with me. Not, you know, messing with me. They haven't singled me out and decided to mess with me. But USPS has just been, like, my orders, whenever I order something online, it keeps getting stuck in a random part of Tennessee, and it's just, why? And, you know, it's been really hot. It's 91 degrees right now, according to my computer. And, you know, if, you know, these markers, you know, they're very precious, you know, and these inks are very precious, and you can spend like $5 or $6 per marker or per container of ink online. So, you know, I don't really want them to get stuck somewhere and then end up drying out in the heat. That would be really unfortunate, you know, especially since I want to get a few of them, you know, quite a lot of them, you know. I don't want them to just get stuck somewhere, or I never get them, which is something else that has happened recently. So, a little scared, you know, to order them online. However, I did check a place, Jerry's Artarama, which is where I normally get my markers and stuff anyways, and they ship with UPS, but sometimes they ship with USPS, so it's risky. But yeah, my markers are in desperate need of help after this, and this was also my first time doing a Copic thing this large. This was 9x12. I don't normally work in that size anyways, mostly because I'm not super comfortable with working with larger stuff. And sometimes I'm like, oh, is that okay? But then, yes, it's okay. I mean, you can draw whatever size you want. You can draw things that are just an inch big. That sentence made no sense. But you know what I mean. Like, it doesn't have to be super big. You don't have to work in super large areas or anything. But I do like that look though. So it is something I would like to get better at. I just like struggle a bit with proportions and things when I work at that size. So sometimes I just don't do it. But whenever I do a contest or something, I like to work in that size because I just think it looks nice. Especially because in the past I've done this thing at the library called the Teens Art Fest. And it's also it's like a gallery type thing, but it's also like a competition, and you also get to sell your stuff. I'm too old for it now, but anyways, yeah, would do all that stuff. And like, if you like, in my opinion, when having my stuff in like a gallery like setting, I like it to be a bit bigger than what I normally do, because with Copic stuff I normally work in like a 4 by 6 inches size, and that's pretty small. That's like a fourth of this size here. So I was like, I want to do something a little bit bigger, and so I figured, I should do something like that for this contest too. But like I mentioned earlier, I misread the instructions, which, that one's on me. And, it's my fault that my markers are dry, basically. That's the gist of that. But anyways, well, actually, not anyways. I'm going to keep talking about that, because having markers that were already kind of dry and then trying to do a 9x12 illustration, some challenges came up along the way, as you would expect. And one of those things was just coloring all the different green things, because with my browns I have refills for those colors, but like literally everything else I don't really have refills for, except one random blue that I have a refill for, but everything else, nothing. Which, as you can imagine, presented some issues, and the main issue was when I was coloring this here grass. Because, I'm trying to cover the entire area, because I thought that's what I needed to do. And my markers at some point were like, you know what? I don't think you should do that. And they started kind of drying up on me as I was working with that. And you can see here, look at this. Look at this. It's actually kind of sad. And that sort of thing happens. And, I was tempted to go and, like, get the things, but I would have to order them online. I wasn't sure if they were going to be here in time and stuff, so I was just like, I'm just going to power through it. And, it's no one's fault but my own, because I created this problem for myself by not reading the instructions, and also by not, getting the refills in the past, even though I knew that I needed them. Like, I feel like I've been talking about needing refills for my markers for months now, and I still haven't done it yet, It's all on me. I'm doing it to myself. But anyways, I guess I'll talk about the concept some more, because I don't think I've talked about that yet. Well, I talked a little bit about the idea. Wow. The idea originally, like I mentioned earlier, it was just the character. It just had him sketched out. And my idea, my vision, was I just imagine this character surrounded by greenery. I was just like, wow. But, my markers, a little challenge, couldn't quite do that there. But I still kind of went with the idea of him being in a garden, And it's like he's in his backyard, and there's, like, the backyard is encased in this really tall fence that has ivy growing on it. And a few days ago I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, how is the ivy there? It's not like, I don't know, how does ivy grow? I don't actually know. I mean, I've seen like vines and stuff growing up the side of houses and stuff. It has to be attached to the ground. My brain right now is kind of challenged, but anyways. But I realized later that it's not growing from anything. It's just kind of there. So we're gonna imagine, let's do this together. We're gonna imagine that off screen, so to speak, the ivy is actually growing out of the ground, and it's just been draped along the fence. Because I didn't think that one through when I was drawing it. And it really do be like that sometimes. Sometimes you just don't, think it through, and that happens to be something that I don't do too often, and you know, it'd be like that sometimes. But anyways, I also had the idea of there being some flowers in the background, you know, and I chose purple because I feel like purple and green go well together. And speaking of which, that was a challenge that I was facing because like with my colors and wanting the character and things to, you know, be cohesive and to fit in the illustration. And some of my Copic colors that I got are very vibrant, which is a good thing. However, the vibe that I was going for, I didn't want them to be that vibrant, so but like I said earlier, I am glad that I tested things out beforehand because I kind of vetted all that out. The only thing that I feel looks the most out of place are his wow, I just realized these are supposed to be joggers, but I colored them like they were jeans. The things I do, oh my goodness, but you know, it'd be like that sometimes. And you know, blue joggers are a thing somewhere, so it's fine. It's fine. No one has to know. Anyways, but yeah, that's the only thing I feel looks out of place color-wise. I feel like I mentioned, the purple in the back adds a nice little pop of color, you know? And the main colors for this, which is something I had to fill out when I was submitting the entry, is to choose what the 3 main colors in the illustration were. And I didn't know that at first, so I didn't, you know, even consider having like 3 main colors, but it just so happened that I did. So it's nice how that worked out, isn't it? But the main colors are that yellow-green color, and I think it was E33, and what was the other color? Oh yeah, and the yellow color. So those are the 3 main colors of this illustration. And the blue is like the only color that I feel stands out a little bit. And you know, it'd be like that. But anyways, I kind of finished the illustration up with some gouache, and that's not recorded because what had happened was my camera battery died, and I was like almost finished, and I was in the zone, and I didn't want to stop for a couple of hours and wait for my camera to, you know, charge. So I didn't get that, and you know, it'd be like that sometimes. I'm sorry, but this is how the illustration turned out. I think it's really nice. I like the colors, except for that one little thing, but no one has to know that. But yeah, my first time submitting something to Copic Contest, so that's nice, and I hope things, I hope for the best. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Shout out to my patrons, Terre, Ariana, Kelsey, Sister Donna 55, and Zachary. Thank you so much for being my patrons. I really appreciate you and everything that you do. Wow! I'm also on Ko-fi and Artful and TikTok, and I also have an Etsy shop, so you can head over there if you like. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and please enjoy the rest of your day, my peeps.